So it should be a common practice in hospitals also, according to you, that patients should receive hypnosis.
I think it should be a common practice. They actually have done studies using hypnosis pre-surgery and post-surgery, showing that it can help healing, recovery, less use of the anesthesia during the operation itself, as well as recovery anesthesia. I think it could be a vital way, as well as even picking language for the surgeons and or nursing staff to use, or the doctors to use, because a lot of language that's being used is actually negative language. So yeah, I think it could be used.
Can someone be hypnotized without knowing it? And does that happen more than we think?
Yes, we get hypnotized while driving. We get hypnotized while watching TV. We get hypnotized while we're playing on a video game on the phone. So all those are ways that you can be hypnotized.
So people can be brainwashed.
Oh yeah, brainwash, but not through conversational hypnosis. Brainwash, there is brainwashing techniques. I work with and help people get out of cults and get over being, if they were trapped into a cult, getting past to it. So in a lot of ways, I'm deprogramming them or dehypnotizing them. So you actually can be brainwashed, but there's certain techniques that they use. One, lack of food. Two, lack of sleep. It makes you all very suggestible to do it. So, and the difference is we don't use those tools to do it. We don't do heightened excitement and techniques to pull you in to get that endorphins going. In brainwashing, they do special exercises to let that energy and that into it. So brainwashing is real, and it can be done.
William Deihl, known as Doc Hypnosis, brings 30 plus years of expertise in psychology and hypnotherapy, helping clients achieve healing, growth, and lasting transformation through tailored therapeutic methods. If you are an author ready to self-publish or share your voice with the world, visit blazegoldburst.com, your portal to publishing, visibility, and global impact. Also, support this movement by diving into Lord's Ordinary Children by Gita Shripani and Reversed Order Existence by Blaze Goldburst.
Welcome to the show, Doc Hypnosis.
Well, thank you very much. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
What's the biggest lie people believe about hypnosis that holds them back from healing?
Well, I guess there's three lies I would actually say that holds people back. The first one is when individuals are thinking about hypnosis, they think it's some type of magic, and it's not magic. It's actually a natural process we all do. And so the first lie is they never even check it out as a viable alternative, even though we've been around centuries, if not millennia. Two, the other lie would be is that all they have to do is come in and just close your eyes and magic will happen. Well, there is no magic that's going to happen. It's a participation. It's working with them. It is called clinical hypnotherapy. So it helps them do it. And I'm trying to remember my third one, and it just left me. So I might pop up with it later on.
So how is it different from street hypnosis that they are showing on the streets?
Well, on street hypnosis, a lot of the street hypnosis, and I let me put kudos to the street hypnosis. Street hypnosis is a very powerful, probably one of the hardest things to do because, and I do it, it's because you can't control your environment. You can't control your people. But when you come to my office, it's my office. There's a quiet space. There's a moment there. A lot of the street hypnotists don't, they follow a certain pattern to put a person into hypnosis where, the true street hypnotists will actually kind of evolve and change what they do to help that person go into hypnosis, very much like hypnosis in a clinical setting. We take that person and find out how they go into hypnosis, and then we use that process to put them into hypnosis.
If hypnosis is so powerful, why isn't it taught in schools or used more in hospitals?
Well, it is taught in schools. Back in the 50s, it was actually taught because it was actually approved by the American Medical Association back in 1958. For us, how I look at it is this way. I actually get referrals from the world-renowned Mayo Clinic. We have a Mayo Clinic here in Phoenix, Arizona, and they actually have referred several individuals to my wellness center. And I actually help individuals because back in the day, doctors could spend time with their patients. Now you're lucky to get 5 minutes with their patients. Well, I kind of look at like us as a specialist now, a specialist in the unconscious mind, just like a specialist would be if it was an oncologist or something else.
Can someone be hypnotized without knowing it? And does that happen more than we think?
Well, to quote a dear friend that now has passed away, Anthony Gailey, he actually would say that you're in a state about 70% of the time throughout the day. You probably have talked to individuals and watched them just stare back off into space and then come back to the conversation, stare off and come back into the conversation. And it's a natural process that we go into. So can people be hypnotized without them knowing it? Yes, we get hypnotized while driving. We get hypnotized while watching TV. We get hypnotized while we're playing on a video game on the phone. So all those are ways that you can be hypnotized. Yes.
So how is past life regression different from it?
Well, past life regression is just a form of therapy. A lot of people look at therapy, past life regression. Is it real? Is it something that's actually happening? Well, does it really matter? And let me put it this way. If a person needs to say, I had a past life to deal with a trauma, it's their mind protecting them. If we go into that fabricated past life and help with that trauma and they heal them, great. If it's actually real and we actually go back into that past life and heal them and they get better in this life, does it really matter? We helped them. That's all we're looking to do. I'm not here to judge. I'm not qualified to judge. So I want to make sure I really touch and help individuals where they're at and not prejudge what their beliefs are.
Have you visited your past life?
No, I'm. There's certain times where I've felt drawn to certain things in my life, where I've gone places and where I've felt completely at home. Or, wait, have I been here before? So I've had that. Have I been formally brought into a past life? No, I have not. My wife has, and she's gone through it. And I've actually worked with many individuals that have gone to past lives. And we've helped with traumas and or just had fun finding out what their past lives were. So either way, it's totally awesome.
In 30 plus years of experience, what is the most surprising transformation you have ever witnessed using hypnosis?
Wow. That's a great question. And looking at my history, there's so many individuals that how can I say? I can't say I was surprised. It touched me. And there's two that stand out. One is that I worked with a couple and they were having problems. They were fighting. And she would check out. She would become almost a different person. And I actually worked with her. She had 4 different personalities. And over the period of time, we helped those individuals start to reintegrate and become a part of them. And she goes, thank you. She was being present. They weren't having problems. They were doing wonderful. And the husband was very stoic. And the response from him was probably he said, this is probably the highest compliment I would give you. I would recommend you. And I'm like, wow, that's huge. The second one, especially coming from him, the second one, person that kind of stands out was this young girl that was self-harming. And she came on in and she was, I don't know the proper term was, she was like goth, all in black, heavy makeup, all this stuff. And her sister would come in with her and sit on the sessions because, she was underage and she wanted to be, just safety. And I'm totally fine with that. Ethics means a huge thing to me. So you could literally watch how she changed over the 6 sessions that I worked with her. And the very last time we worked, both of the sister and her started crying because it was the last session. And the sister said, "This is from my parents and me. Thank you for giving us their daughter back, but my sister back." And even right now, I'm getting a little lump in my throat thinking about it. So for me, it's the shifts that you make into individuals, because I've worked with people that have been going to therapy for 20, 30 years. The first story I told you, she was going to therapy for 40 years and never had breakthroughs like this.
How does it feel like to be hypnotized? And is it different from meditation or sleep?
Yes, no, and maybe so. Let me explain that answer. With hypnosis, it's kind of individualized. Each person goes into hypnosis differently. And sometimes some individual might go in a very light state of hypnosis where they're just really hyper focused in a relaxed state. So how could you experience that while you're driving and you lose track of time, or you're like, was that my exit? So you could lose time with that. You might go into a more deeper state where you hear some of the words and not pay attention to others. And that's probably like working on a project or watching TV and people are talking to you and you're like, what? Because you're so enthralled with that TV show, like the flow state. And the last one I would say is a deeper state where you don't hear a lot of things and you don't pay attention to a lot of things. That would be kind of like my wife. That's a joke. But really, that would be like when you're falling asleep. There is a stage where you kind of are awake and you're kind of asleep, and it's called the theta state. That's where we want to be. That's like the sweet spot. And that's where we take most of the individuals. Does depth of hypnosis really mean anything? The actual answer is no. It's up to the subconscious mind to kind of guide how deep you'll go to help you make that movement to make that shift in your life.
What exactly happens in the subconscious when someone heals deep emotional trauma using hypnotherapy?
Well, in some ways, I think some individuals would say, I don't know what happens. It's, once again, unique for each individual. But let's use this as an example or a metaphor. You may have had, like that woman that came to me. She would go, and every time she'd gone to traditional therapy, she would explain what happened. They would ask her how she felt. So the next time she came in, she would be asked what happened and how she felt. And the next time she would be asked what happened and how she felt. So in that form of therapy, a lot of people actually think, oh, this is going to be, it'll actually deaden the problem because they come to terms with it. It doesn't affect them the same way. Sometimes what it causes is a rut, and it causes like pulling a cart through the mud. You get two distinct ruts in the ground. Well, that's what happens sometimes in traditional therapy. So with ours, we kind of focus them in a different direction. And by doing that, we actually cause what's called neuroplasticity. And that's where neurons actually start firing. New pathways are being formed. So our mind gets a rut because we always go to a same problem. So let me give you an example of what I mean by a rut. Let's talk about phobia. They are scared of spiders. They have to scream, they have to run away, they have to cry. That's the rut. They could step on the spider. They could spray it with bug spray. They could walk away from the spider. They don't have to cry and scream or anything else. So that's a neuron rut. So we start giving those options. So new neurons, new pathways are being formed, and actually helps that person get to another way of thinking, so they don't go down the same path every time.
So, how does manifestation work in hypnosis?
Manifestation, and probably would be a good way of looking at this, is it's like the law of attraction. You want to bring things into your life. If we are in a simulation per se, we control it with our mind computer. And if you ever want to know about laws of attraction, Joe Vitale, he's part of the movie The Secret, as well as he wrote a book called The Attraction Factor, talks about getting clear on what you want, getting clear of what you need. So let's talk about the needs and what you do for manifestation to bring that new reality to ourselves. So the very first thing is, okay, what do you want? I want to be rich. Okay. Now put it in the present tense. I am rich. Now you have to feel it and see it and hear it and taste it and smell it. So bringing in all those senses. Well, some people can visualize it. Some people can say it, but not everybody can bring in all those senses to help that put that true vibration out to the universe, to help it bring back to you. So hypnosis puts you into that scenario, into that purpose, into that manifestation. So hypnosis helps you connect deeper, making that manifestation stronger for what the outcome that you want.
So, a person also needs to perform actions also.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying. I look at the manifestations taking actions. Even in biblical references, you have to knock so the door will open. You have to ask to receive. So by putting that manifestation and doing this process, you set your mind into a navigation, kind of like setting a navigation on your car. Or if you ever bought a new car or a new vehicle, you all of a sudden see the same color on the road because your navigation system's been set for that new car, that new vehicle. So the same thing is true here. It becomes a way of connecting to make that happen unconsciously instead of you have to doing everything consciously.
Can hypnosis change physical health, like chronic pain or autoimmune symptoms, or is that just placebo?
I'm going to answer it with an answer. I have had people, I've worked with individuals with cancer. I've worked with individuals with chronic pain all the time. And one, if it helps the individual and makes them feel better and puts the cancer or takes the pain down a level and it's happening in their own mind, is that placebo or is that hypnosis? That's a hard question to answer. There's a great book called You Are the Placebo by Joe Dispenza. And Joe Dispenza actually talks about how strong the human mind is. So if hypnosis helps you connect into that part of your mind that can help with that pain, help with that cancer, help with that autoimmune disease, we're just turning on parts of the brain that helps take care of the rest of the body. So does it really matter if it's a placebo? Because it is still coming from the mind. There's a old saying in Huna, a Polynesian way of living. Huna says, anything that works is therapy.
What makes EMDR or NLP more effective when combined with hypnosis?
With my clients, I find it fascinating because I can do an NLP technique with them. And I guess while doing some NLP, there's still a prejudgment or a filter going through their conscious mind. Same thing with EMDR. Both of them come from hypnosis. So they're only one part of hypnosis anyways. Where a lot of people think, oh, NLP is a standalone. No, a lot of it came from hypnosis. EMDR, comes from hypnosis, is only one part. So we actually add those parts into the full picture of hypnosis or hypnotherapy, where by putting them to the hypnotic state or hypnagogic state, we're able to actually do the same procedures, but they actually work 10 times better, maybe 100 times better, because there's no filter that's going on through. There's no judgment. Is NLP fantastic? I'm an NLP practitioner. It's actually one of the very first things I learned, but I knew hypnosis before because my father was a hypnotherapist and my grandfather did hypnosis. So being a third generation hypnotherapist, I see the power of NLP and EMDR, especially with trauma and for mindset. So they work hand to hand, not one's better or one worse, but hypnosis can just make them as a tool to help them even work better.
The audience would like to know more about your journey, how it started from the beginning.
Kind of how I look at it, my journey, as you hear, my grandfather was did hypnosis. My father did hypnosis, and I do hypnosis and hypnotherapy. So when you look at my history, I knew about hypnosis as a kid. My father practiced on me. I went to college and studied psychology, and they showed hypnosis. I didn't fall in love with hypnosis and really knew the power of hypnosis until after my father passed away. Even though I used it, because when I was cleaning and going through his stuff, I found his certificate. And it was from 1966. And I said, you know what? I want to know my father better. So I went on a journey to kind of discover my father a little bit more and found out that I fell in love with it. I saw the power, how you could get through, instead of 600 sessions in psychiatry, I can do it in 6 sessions. Instead of a 38% success rate, I could have a 93% success rate. And I fell in love with it. And then while going through and finding that out, I found my grandfather was a chiropractor, and he actually learned from J.P. Palmer's son. J.P. Palmer actually did the Palmer Institute, and J.P. Palmer's son or junior actually taught the class that my grandfather took. So my grandfather did hypnosis. So it was a kind of discovery of my family and a deep need to help people that really moved me along my journey.
Have you ever hypnotized someone who didn't want to change, and what happened?
Wow. Probably a good example is an individual that I've had two. I'll use two. I'll use different forms of therapy. I'll use different forms of therapy like PCW or NLP or the SWAN protocol to get people to kind of open up. I had someone the other day that really did not want to have change. And it is true for all therapies. If it's from sound therapy to psychiatry, psychology, any form of therapy, talk therapy, if the person does not want to change, they're not going to change. There is something called free will that we all have. And I can't influence the free will. I can start putting suggestions in and talking to them. We could actually, do it over a long period of time and start working on those beliefs. But most people, if you're coming into my office because they just they're doing it for their girlfriend. That's the individual I talked to the other day. He came on in. He clearly did not want to change, but he was in there for his girlfriend. I didn't take him as a client. Why? Because I'm not there to waste his time or waste my time. I could use my time helping people. So if you want help, hypnotherapy, any therapy is going to be a step in the right direction or get a solution. If you don't want help, unless they have some unethical reason they want to influence you and change you, most people would not have the time to do it. Could it be done over a long period of time? Absolutely.
What role does language play in reprogramming the mind? And how can people use words more consciously in daily life?
Of this, because you're doing some great questions. So I just want to tell you that I don't know how you did your research, but you're doing some really good questions. Thank you. Taking a look at words and everything else, there's a couple of things come to mind. There was actually a study, and I worked with a neurologist that actually wrote the board certification for neurologists in the country. And he actually became a good friend, a best friend. He actually was the neurologist or doctor for Tony Robbins. And he was one of my closest friends. And he actually did a demonstration with muscle testing. And some people don't believe in muscle testing, but when it's done on you, you become a believer. So he actually, some people do arms, some people do, testing their fingers or, swaying. So let's talk about using the arm. He was actually pushing down on my arm, and he used words and say, well, say I hate you. And when I did, I went weaker. I felt it. When you said I love you, you got stronger. And here, then he said, well, say it in your mind. Don't say it out loud. Say it. And I went weaker again. Did the same things. I hate, I love. And I said, that's fascinating, because we kind of talk to ourselves and put ourselves down all the time. How often do we actually talk to ourselves and pick ourselves up? How often do we do things that actually say, hey, I love you. Let me have, you're great. You actually did wonderful. Those words actually can help us heal ourselves, help us, our energy be stronger. So he did one step beyond this, and this is goes into what you talk about manifestation and the metaphysical world and everything else. We were doing this in front of an audience, so he actually had me turn my back to the crowd. The first test, he had the crowd say, I love you, strong. I hate you, weak. Then he had the crowd just think it. And there was a weakness that happened. I didn't know which one, because he was behind my back doing a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I couldn't see it. And it happened. So words and thoughts have a huge impact on individuals. And what can you do? What can you do? I do this with my clients. I have people come in and say, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do this. It's going from a life of try and living in the past sometimes to a life of choice and choosing to be happy. So try, actually, true definition is to fail. If you try to pick up something, you never pick it up. You pick it up or it stays there. Trying means it never gets up. That means it stayed there. That means you failed. So when you approach something with I try, it means that you never did it. You started a podcast. You probably said, I'm trying to start a podcast. Then you did it. No, you didn't try. You actually made it happen. So the life of choice is, you can have a life of, like, I have people say, well, I'm trying to stop smoking. Well, when you approach smoking in that manner, what happens? You set up a life of arguments in your head, and you're fighting it back and forth. But if you say, I choose to become a non-smoker, is there an argument anymore? I choose not to smoke. There is no argument. So there's one thing I could say to you to eliminate from your life is to eliminate the word try and start choosing what you want to do.
I have a question, like you are saying that if you are trying to hypnotize a person not to quit smoking, okay, to quit smoking. So you will be using not to smoke or something like that, but the word smoke will be uttered so many times. So that will be captured in his mind, right? So he will not quit smoking. He would be attracted to it more and more. Instead of that, if we replace it with a different alternate word, That could help more, I think. Instead of saying, I will not be a bad person, I'm a good person.
Right. Right. You want to point yourself to it. You're a non-smoker, or you're living a happier, healthier life, wanting to breathe in fresh air all the time.
Yeah. Instead of telling that I will quit smoking or I'm a non-smoker, better to say I have healthy habits or something. I consume good things or something like that instead
Yeah,
of.
and you're actually going down a path where it's really a fallacy of a belief that our mind cannot recognize negatives or nots. In reality, we can. It makes it far better if we do. I wrote a book that's going to be launched in the next week called Anarchy Hypnosis. And it's looking at all these kind of rules that people have put into place and saying, no, there's examples that it doesn't. These rules don't apply. These rules don't exist. So yes, you're right. It can help it better, but the full statement saying we don't recognize negative statements is not totally factual. So yeah, can we use a non-smoker? Yeah, we could use that term. Or better yet, will they get better effects if they're going towards a happier, healthier life? But really, smoking is a symptom, not the problem. A lot of times people are driven to smoking to fill something that's missing. So I have individuals come in, and what I do, and this is going to help people stop smoking by just doing this. If they have a sheet of paper and every time they pick up a cigarette, and before they can smoke, they have to write down what that cigarette's giving them. What will this cigarette give them? And don't say, and a lot of people go, oh, it gives me relaxation. Nicotine is a stimulant. So they're actually lying to themselves. So if they do a deep dive and look at themselves, they'll actually find out. I've had people come back and say, it's my only stable relationship I've ever had. Well, it's not a human being. How could you have a relationship with a 3-inch piece of tobacco that causes cancer? It gives me permission to take a break. Remember that rut I talked about earlier on? They got themselves in a rut and thought, this cigarette is the only way I'm allowed to take it because this is the rut I live in. Now we give them options, and that rut flattens out, and they have a new way of being happier, healthier, breathing in clean air, taking and spending more time with their grandkids or whatever their big goal in mind is at the end.
If someone is having bad dreams, would you say that I will not have a bad dream or I'll have good dreams?
Because hypnosis, you'll have good dreams.
Or I will not be poor again. We can't say that thing, right? If we say that thing, I'll not be poor again.
No, the better way to say it's not going to work as well as if that you focus on being rich. Another study is that if you keep on looking of what you don't want, they actually did a study, and I think actually Tony Robbins used this as an example in NASCAR. And I don't know if you guys watch NASCAR in India, but it's a big loop and people drive around in a circle at really high speeds and they take lefts. So they actually did a study where they had a driver turn into the turn. The turn's the same every time. They turn into the turn, but if they look at the wall, even though their hands are locked in that position, their car starts to drift over to the wall. So we need to put the focus on the outcome, not what we don't want. So that is, if you want to talk about negative statements or whatever, is very powerful. So we want to think about the outcome that we want. So we don't want to be poor. Is that the outcome? No. The outcome is that we want to be rich. We want to be wealthy. We want to be happy. We want to have abundance. That's what we focus on. And the car or the universe or our self-internal gyroscope or navigation system will start directing us. to where we want to go.
So you are writing a book about it. Can you tell more about it? You're writing a book.
Yeah, the book is called Anarchy Hypnosis, and it's just taking a look at all the rules and beliefs that people have about hypnosis and how you have to have certain rules to go into hypnosis. So there are some schools, I'll give you an example. Some schools say, well, you need to sit in a chair with your both feet on the ground, with your hands on your legs, and just stare at this one spot. Okay, that would be kind of eye fixation, but do you need to be in that position, in that chair that way? No. Let's think about it. If you go into hypnosis while driving, is your hands on your lap? No, they're on the wheel. All right. If you go on in hypnosis while working on a paper and clicking on a keyboard, you're moving. You're going into hypnosis. If you can go in hypnosis while watching a movie or watching a movie or reading a book or hearing a song and you get emotionally moved, that's hypnosis. So if you get into, you're sitting on the couch, do you sit with your feet on the floor perfectly like this? No, you actually sit on the couch with your legs crossed or your feet under you or leaning to one side or whatever. Those rules are put into place. My personal opinion is because schools wanted to give you a format that you have to do. It's a natural state. Why are we making it unnatural? Let's find out how they go into it. It's saying the only way you can go into hypnosis is relaxation. And that's BS. You go into hypnosis in shock. There's actually been situations where people are bleeding. They are literally cut in their side from a car accident, and they're in shock. And the individual walks up to them. Don Spencer actually did this. He walked up to an individual. He was at a car accident, walked up, could see that the person was in shock, and he told him to stop bleeding. Didn't do an induction, didn't do anything, but the bleeding stopped. Okay? Shock. Anxiety isn't hypnosis. So if you think about it, there's many ways going into hypnosis. And you think about anxiety. What's anxiety? Thinking of the future and worrying about something that might happen that's not actually happening, that you make yourself feel it's happening right now, where your heart's pounding, you're sweating, you're nervous. That's hypnosis. It's not happening. So that's where the anarchy hypnosis comes in. Looking at it and saying, guys, stop and take a look. These rules don't apply. They're not set in stone.
What is conversational hypnosis, and can it be used unknowingly in politics, advertising, or relationships?
And to make a very short answer, yes, it can be used in politics and TV. They do it in commercials. I'll use two examples. We have an insurance company here called Allstate. And the gentleman that says Allstate is always in a low voice. So they will actually will have a little girl, or they'll do something and use his voice at the end. And that's called anchoring. It's part of hypnosis. It's part of NLP. But what's happening there? The little girl's talking to her dad and saying, "Oh my God, Dad, I can't believe what's going on. Thank God we have Allstate." So all of a sudden, it's dropping. That is called an embedded command. Embedded command, making that one word so you remember Allstate all the time. Repetitiveness. A simple process is usually a process of 3. But look at what Donald Trump does during his speeches. And I'm not getting political here. I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend anybody. But if you watch his speeches, he actually will repeat, "Make America Great. It's so good. It's good. It's all good. It's good." So it's actually part of a hypnotic process to actually, well, like talking to you right now, if I said, just imagine how it would feel to start to relax now. Imagine your body relaxing all the way down now. Imagine going back to that time where you just is perfect relaxation, and your eyes are blinking a little bit more. So thank you very much. You actually felt that a little bit, but that imagine is brought you there. So it's actually a very powerful thing that you can do. When they repeat it, they're doing it. The neat thing is, by me sharing this just now, actually prevents it from working on you in the future, because you become aware of it and you see it and you go, oh, they're trying to screw with me. They're doing this. They're repeating this over and over again. They just did it in embedded command. How often, even in the written advertisement, they're talking about stuff and reading, and one word is bolder than the others. That's a visual embedded command. And that people say it, salesmen do it. Thank you for stopping by Chevrolet. By, I separated it out, Chevrolet. It's ambiguity in the mind. By means you came on by, or by that you paid for it. So salespeople use that all the time. And then there is other techniques called rapport building and working with people that actually opens up more and more doors to be able to get into the conversations where you became friends and do that. So yeah, it's used all the time.
So in one or two lines,
Conversational hypnosis is acting normal, being normal, but using embedded the tools of the trade to help a person make change. I'll use embedded commands and talking to someone over the phone. I'll use embedded commands and working with someone while doing an interview to find out what's wrong with them. Why? I want them to make a shift. I want them to be better. I want them to be well and get to their goals. Ethically, it can be used in a negative way too, but it's more of a little bit. Will you, by conversational hypnosis, suddenly become a murderer or a bank robber? No. You might think highly of that person by them putting in embedded commands and how they do certain things. But yeah, it's just conversation using the tools of the trade.
so people can be brainwashed.
Oh yeah, brainwash. But not through conversational hypnosis. Brainwash, there is brainwashing techniques. I work with and help people get out of cults and get over being, if they were trapped into a cult, getting past to it. So in a lot of ways, I'm deprogramming them or dehypnotizing them. So you actually can be brainwashed, but there's certain techniques that they use. One, lack of food. Two, lack of sleep. Makes you all very suggestible to do it. So, and the difference is we don't use those tools to do it. We don't do heightened excitement and techniques to pull you in to get that endorphins going. In brainwashing, they do. They do special exercises to let that energy and that into it. So, brainwashing is real, and it can be done.
You use something called provocative change works. What is that? And why is being provocative useful in therapy?
It's almost like that, going back to that rut example I use. Nick Kemp created Provocative Change Works, and Nick is a wonderful guy. I would look at provocative change work is a higher level of hypnotherapy, working in a conversational way where you can actually help individuals think about their problems differently during conversation. So it is conversational hypnosis in some ways, but provocative change works, it kind of makes you think about things a little bit differently. And let me explain how the memory works. When you have a problem, you don't go back to the original time the problem occurred. You think about it by the last time you thought about it. So if every day for 100 days you had a problem and you think about that problem for 100 days, you go back to yesterday to think about that problem and how you experienced it. You don't go all the way back to day one. So that's why people can do tests, and they've done this test in numerous studies where they go, they watched a movie and they go of a car accident. And during the first interview, they actually said, "Oh, what color car was at the stop sign?" There was no stop sign, but they asked him what color. So later on, they would actually create 100 days later over this process a car at the stop sign, and it was this color. That means memory is plastic. It means it can form. So PCW actually does interrupts where Endor asks you to go down different paths to make you think differently. Provocative, some people think of it as a more sexual nature, but provocative means heightened awareness. So you start putting them down different pathways and you can't get back to the problem. If you can't get back to the problem, you can't cause the same physical reaction to the problem. So provocative change work is actually working with the individual and using different stances, different ways to help them, guide them to a different outcome in their life.
Can hypnosis access past lives or hidden memories? Or is that a myth in modern psychology?
Yes, it can. But if you had a blocked memory, I would be very cautious of using any therapy to go to that memory because you blocked a memory or forgot a memory to protect your psyche. Maybe you had something horrific happen to you as a kid and you want to go back and find out what that is, why this happened or whatever. If you go back there and the person's not prepared for it, it can be also damaging. So it's always important to get someone qualified to work with the individual to help them, one, put the tools in so the mind can handle it. So the answer is yes, they can go back, but you want to make sure they have that ability to handle that problem. And sometimes I always ask this question. When the person says, "Hey, I want to go back and I want to find out why they did this because it makes me do this," I always ask, do you need to find out why or do you need the problem to go away? What's more important? Sometimes finding that why takes a lot longer. We can get the problem to go away a lot faster.
What are the ethical lines in hypnosis? How much influence is too much?
Too much influence is not going to happen because you still have free will. We can't make you do something you don't want to do. Can't make you into a bank robber. Can't make you into a murderer. But if you're doing brainwashing, you can do some horrific stuff. We don't do brainwashing. We just help do therapy. We help guide individuals. And lucky for me, ethics is a big thing for me. I actually have been nominated to win the BBB award. That's a Better Business Bureau Torch Award, and that's for ethics. So ethics is very important. You should have ethics throughout. And I think one motto that I go by is part of the Hippocratic Oath: do no harm. And I approach everybody that way. Do no harm. Can you, while they're under, make them do suggestions and do things? Yeah, you can. Is it for therapy? It should be. If it's not, you're not being ethical. I think stage shows. I love stage shows. I actually do stage hypnosis, but I approach it kind of like Anthony Gailey. God rest his soul. He always showed how an individual, that personal situation, like making the arm stiff and can't bend it, so arm stiff, where they can actually visualize this is a steel bar, how by visualizing that can show them how they can stick to their goals, how they can stick to an opportunity, or if they can't doing that, how certain things can be holding you back. It's funny, but it doesn't make a person look bad. So for me, to make sure there's a balance, and ethics plays a huge part of that. If you're going to and talking to your podcast and your individuals, I would say if you go to somebody and they make you feel funny, meaning that you don't do it. We have a gut feeling for a reason. Listen to your gut. It's kind of made out of the same cell structure as your brain. So it's called your second brain sometimes. Guess what? Follow your gut. If they give you a funny feeling, you don't feel comfortable, leave. And find someone else that you feel good with.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
Yeah. Thank you.
If someone wanted to self-sabotage their growth, what would their subconscious patterns sound like?
Wow, I think that's most of the clients that come in that I work with. They have this soundtrack in their head that I can't. I'm not worthy. I can't. I'm not able to do it. I'm not good enough. So they have this soundtrack in their head, and you say something, and you can literally see it. I had a gentleman came in, and I could literally see on his face when I said something, he was dismissing it. I'm like, and I actually asked him, "Are you here?" A different gentleman, "Are you here for somebody else?" And he goes, "Well, my wife actually sent me in." And I'm like, "Okay, what do you want?" And we start talking and everything else, because right now you're dismissing, and I could see this line of things going through your head that this is a whole bunch of BS. Do you want help or not? Well, no, I want help. What do you want? And I kind of got really, I guess, stern of, focusing on what his outcome wants to be. I said, your wife sent you in here because you guys are on your last legs. Do you want to be by yourself for the rest of your life, or do you want help? And well, nothing else has helped me. So you're going to have a defeatist attitude before you even come in here. So I had to shift that thought to get him going there. So he's already have this negative thought pattern in him. So I did a really blunt talk conversation with him to get him to say, no, I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to try this. I'm willing to make a change. So it's the individuals that talk against themselves, that have this constant soundtrack going in their head, that they have this defeatist attitude. We all, a friend that shared this, he always talked about this. He said, well, I have two eyes, I have a mouth, I have 2 ears, I have 2 arms, I have 2 legs. And that billionaire over there has 2 eyes, a mouth, 2 ears, 2 arms, 2 legs. He eats, he drinks, he puts his pants on, he puts his shirt on. Everything I do, what's the difference? It's mindset, the direction his mind goes. And knowing that really the only limitations, the only thing really holding us back is this 6 inches right here. This 6 inches right here. And when you master those 6 inches, you can master the world.
According to you, how do mentalists work?
They work very well. Mentalism is, it's actually a part of a stage act. Can people have precognitions? Can they have feelings? Can they predict number? Some people might get lucky and predict a higher level of numbers. Or there is some scientific studies that there is a level of increase of certain individuals other than alls. But if you go see a mentalist show, that is a mentalist show. It's not real. The mentalist will be doing tricks and things to make you see or seem like he can do or she can do something beyond ordinary. It's there to put you in the state of wonder. Enjoy the show. I think a mentalist, if they hold themselves out as more and that they have real power, I think that is probably unethical, because you think about it, if they're able to predict the numbers, about 6 months ago, there was a billion with a B dollar lottery. So far, I haven't heard any mentalists in the history or psychics or any person that can supposedly predict the future win one of those huge Powerballs or those events or lotteries. So that should be telling us something. Those things are for show.
So how do they read our minds?
Well, some will use the law of averages. Okay. So if I asked you to think of a playing card, out of 52 playing cards, first one that comes to your mind, most people will say one or two cards. First one, higher percentage, is the Queen of Hearts. The second one is the Ace of Spades. And then I think the third one's like the Three of Clubs. So it's a percentage game, okay, on that particular trick. Can they force a card upon someone? I'll do it. All right. Now you're going to get a magic trick on me or a thing. Let me grab a card. It's a normal deck of cards. Okay. I just want to do it. I'm putting a prediction here. Okay. I'm going to hold it up here so you can see it at all times. Okay. I want you to imagine I'm handing you a deck of cards through the computer screen. Okay. So now I hand a deck of cards and you start opening up that deck of cards and, all the red or all the black fall on the floor. What falls on the floor? What falls on the floor? Red or black? What?
Maybe both. I'm not sure.
No, choose one. And all the red or all the black fall on the floor. Which one?
Red.
Red. All right, cool. Put the black down and pick up all the red. Okay. While separating them out, you put all the hearts on one hand and all the hearts on diamonds on the other. Imagine that you put one of them on the table. Which one did you put on the table? Hearts or diamonds?
Diamonds.
Diamonds. Cool. Put the hearts aside. Pick up the diamonds on the table. And do you like high? Just pick high or low cards? Do you like high cards? High. 10, Jack, Queen, King, Ace. Okay. Pick three of those. 10, Jack, Queen, King, Ace. Pick which three did you pick?
10.
All right. 10. Jack. Pick three of them. 10, Jack, Queen, King, Ace.
Jack.
Pick two more. Okay.
King and Queen.
All right. Jack, Queen, and King. Okay. All right. You have those three cards. Jack, King, Queen of Ace. A diamond. Sorry. Do me a favor. Place one of those down on the table. Of the Jack, King, or Queen, or Jack, Queen, or King, place one down on the table.
Okay.
Which one did you put on the table? Jack, King, or Queen?
Jack.
That means you still have what, the Queen and King in your hands, right? Imagine that you're handing me back one of those cards. Hand me one of those cards. Which card did you hand me?
Queen.
The Queen. That leaves what in your hand?
King.
The King of Diamonds? Right? The King of Diamonds. Okay? So they use other things to work for them. They use knowing how the mind works. They know how people think. They know they'll work in different patterns. So I won't give away their trickery, but they're there for entertainment and they do it really well. Okay. Did you like that one?
Definitely. It was something new to me.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure you enjoyed that one.
Absolutely, I enjoyed it.
Good.
How can someone completely change their identity, beliefs, habits, even personality using hypnotherapy?
One, I think my wife probably says it. She does what's called precision resonance therapy. She actually does sound therapy. And she always sets an intention, what the outcome is. The first thing they need to do is, okay, I want to change my total personality, who I am. Well, you have to decide how you want to be. You're changing it, great, but if you don't have the destination in mind, how you get there? I think Earl Nightingale gave an example in his Strangest Secret. If a boat leaves a harbor and never sets a destination and no one's at the wheel, what happens? You'll maybe never reach land. It might end up someplace different. So they have to put a destination in mind, a navigation. So clearly set out what you want in your life, who you want to be in your life. From there, while going on that journey, going through the beliefs, the ideas, the fears, and with hypnosis, we can help guide and give a path to that destination. Sometimes it's a very smooth path, sometimes it's up and down path. But in reality, a lot of people think healing is just like this. In reality, if you broke your leg or any part of you and your mind, healing is like this. So in that mind, there is to change your total personality. It takes time. I work with individuals that have anger management. And I actually was working for an individual for the state of Arizona. So I kept documentations for him and worked with him, and we had to work on his beliefs and what was his triggers, what caused him to get angry. So it was a period of time I worked with him, but his end goal was he didn't want to go back to jail. So it was, it took time, but you can take care of it. And he had a total personality shift where he was, I'm going to say it, he was a racist. And by the time we got done with him, he wasn't a racist. I don't know if he loved everybody, but he wasn't a racist anymore. And he was a lot more tolerant of individuals in their life.
What's the fastest transformation you have seen in a client, and what technique made it happen?
A lot of people come in my office with phobias, and there is a process called the phobia cure. It doesn't work for everybody. I'm making that clear because, I don't know how they could even name it the phobia cure, but it doesn't work for everybody. So I've actually seen people make a shift within 20 minutes. Had a person come on in, start talking to him. He had a fear of injections, fear of needles. And he came on in, I started working with him, and within 20 minutes, he was in the other room getting a B12 shot. And the very next day, he had an acupuncture treatment, and he had a fear of needles since he was a kid. And we were able to disarm that and take care of it. It was a combination of an LP technique called the phobia cure, but he had other issues, so we did some hypnosis. I would love to say there's one thing that works for everybody, but there's only one of you. There's only one of me. There's just one of everybody. And all of us are a little bit different. And no one fits into a box. So I would love to say one technique works for everybody. One process works for everything. No, there's some that it doesn't work with, and we have to try other things. That's why I do multiple things in my practice. I just don't do hypnosis only, even though I'm known as Doc Hypnosis, but I will do NLP. I will do PCW. I will do the SWAN protocol. I will do cognitive therapy. I will do EMDR. I will do IMET. I'll do whatever it takes to make a shift. And that's what I want. I want that person to make that shift and live a better life.
How do you work with clients who have been in therapy for years without results? What do you do differently?
I think a lot of times when clients come in that's been going to therapy for a long, long time, they are coming in with probably, I'm their last hope, their last chance. I'm the last thing that I've tried everything else, and they're about to give up. The first thing I do is give them hope. Two, I show them that change can happen, where we can do something very small and they can see something change in them for a moment or for a lifetime. And then I start working with them, because if they come in with a defeatist attitude, to leave with a defeatist attitude. I need to give them hope and knowledge that things can change, things can get better. And really their world of suffering is happening here, not out here. So let's give you another avenue to take to get there. So the first thing I think is probably, I say hope. What do I do differently? I also don't dwell a long time on the problem. I understand the problem, and find out how they're creating the problem and maintaining the problem. Then I start going for a solution, not to rehash the problem over and over again. And I think that's one of the biggest differences.
Also, how do you deal with cases involving mental illness like schizophrenia or multiple personality disorders, bipolar disorders? How do you deal with
A lot of times I work with those individuals only under the permission of their psychiatrist. Okay. In my practice, at least in Arizona, it's not part of my practice to do that. So I get permission from the doctor, and I work hand in hand with the doctor for that particular outcome. Each person, once again, is different. So I would love to say, hey, I work with all schizophrenics this way, or I work with all bipolar, or all individuals this way. I don't. I will do an assessment. I will work with that individual and treat them like their own universe, their own cosmos, their own way of doing things. In my book, I've had people come to me all the time saying I'm broken. And I'm like, no, you're not. Aren't you already perfect? In reality, if you think about it, if there's no one else like you in the whole universe, there is no one like you in, this whole world. Aren't you already perfect? Because you are you. So now let's direct that a little bit better. Let's focus this a little bit differently and let you see the magic or the power within you.
Can hypnosis make them stop medication?
I've worked with individuals to help them get off medication. It depends. One thing I make clear to all my clients that come in and say, oh, I'm on this, I'm on this, I'm on this. Can you get me off of this? One, I work with the doctor. I work with the doctor because coming off medications can be harmful to an individual. They have to come off it properly. Even simple things where people think, oh, I'm just on Prozac, I can stop. It can cause what's called stingers and cause, emotional flares. So you want to make sure you take them off the medication in the proper, safe way in conjunction with their doctor. Can they come off? Yeah, because we're giving them other tools, other ways, and getting them out of that rut. Does it work for all medications? A lot of medications I've been able to get people off of. Does it work for everybody? No. It's up to their minds. They are limited into that. Yeah, they're going to be stuck in that.
What about people who have serious health issues like heart disease, other types? Can it be cured via hypnosis?
I don't think we can say the term cure in a proper way. Can it be helpful? Yes. Can it help them maybe increase their quality of life? Well, that can be life changing. So maybe the problem doesn't go away, but the acceptance of the outcome is. I work with a lot of terminally ill individuals. Have I had a couple of what I look at as miracles and stuff like that? Yes, I have. But there are individuals that I'm just there to help them make their quality of life better, accept it, so they can move on and they can be in peace. I've helped individuals to start eating more when they stopped eating, give them hope in a direction where they needed to, or look at it differently. When it comes to a terminally ill situation, it really depends on what caused it, how deep-seated it is. Where did this come from? Because all illness comes from disease. So If they want to do a deep dive, I'm willing to go down there. And the people I've worked with that I feel that some people would say, ooh, that's miraculous or that's a miracle. They went down that path with me. Others don't want to go down that path. They're tired. You want a better ending of their life or be able to live with it and not affect them. So each person's different. So can I say cure? I'm not going to say cure. Help? Yes.
So it should be a common practice in hospitals also, according to you, that patients should receive hypnosis.
I think it should be a common practice. They actually have done studies using hypnosis pre-surgery and post-surgery, showing that it can help healing, recovery, less use of the anesthesia during the operation itself, as well as recovery anesthesia. I think it could be a vital way, as well as even picking language for the surgeons and or nursing staff to use, or the doctors to use, because a lot of language that's being used is actually negative language. So yeah, I think it could be used. I know that I had this discussion when one of my first teachers actually had cancer, and he died from cancer, but his partner watched how they talked to him, and they actually kind of preconceived as saying, well, you only have this percentage of living. Well, that's not a great way of looking at that. And you want to help program your mind for success. Will it help? I don't know. But why not give it a positive if it does? If your mind is the placebo, if your mind's so strong, give it every opportunity to succeed. Don't limit your beliefs prior to the situation.
What is something you used to believe about the mind that your experience has totally disproven?
I would say, to be honest, a lot of us, and even myself, put false limitations on ourselves. We put ourselves in a box saying we're not good enough, or we don't have that ability, or are not worthy to doing this. And over the years working with individuals, I've seen them manifest and bring in amazing things into their lives and make a shift. And, when I was young, it's like, okay, well, you're sick, or, oh, well, that's how the world works. The world doesn't work that way. You create your own world. You create your own outcome. You create your own opportunities. Going back to what you said earlier, don't you have to take action? Absolutely. You can sit there and want and dream and see all this time. You have to take action. So that one thing I would say is the world is not the world, and that's not how it is. What it is that we have and can control our world, and we need to do it, because I've seen it time and time again, people doing it and changing their lives for the better.
Can hypnosis be applied to animals also for their better well-being?
Well, it depends on how many commands and stuff they can understand. But I've read some books about hypnotizing like chickens and dogs and lizards and stuff like that. But it's more putting them into a trance state. I've never read anything to be able to help them in therapeutic form or anything else like that. But, with this new AI that is out there and communicating and opening up and deciphering things, I don't put anything out of the future be able to hypnotize and or help animals or help any living being for the better.
Is healing always emotional, or can someone transform through laughter, sound, or even confusion?
Yes, all of them. Realize that sound therapy, my wife does sound therapy, soul echo therapy that I told you about earlier. She's had people come in with like insomnia and hasn't been able to sleep well for months to years. And she worked with them, and they report 2, 3, 4 weeks later, they're still sleeping through the night. And all she did was set the intention and then played the proper sequence and the proper tonality for that individual to make a shift. I don't think people realize how powerful sound therapy can be if you have a really good practitioner doing it for you that gets in tuned with you to give you what you need. Laughter, huge. There's actually in the movie The Secret, they talked about a woman that had suffered from cancer, and she did her own laughter therapy. She would watch videos and comedies and laughed and put her cancer in remission. And then confusion. In a lot of ways, PCW, by going down their different stances, uses confusion for the betterment for individuals for therapy. So I will joke around. I will do therapy. I will do sound in my sessions. Once again, I'm here to make a shift for you to help you become the better you. I'm not going to limit it. I'm not going to say, well, this is the only way it's going to be done. I'm going to find out what works for you, and then I'm going to do it. So to answer your question, yes, with all of those.
Can hypnosis be used to overcome money blocks or reprogram someone's mindset for wealth, abundance, or business success?
Yes. Yes, I actually was working with an individual the other day, and he has this huge whale come in. A whale is here in the States, a big company, and it's going to make him probably billions of dollars with a B. He was so excited because he was approaching things from a state of fear, a state of not good enough, and reprogram that. If you go in and start trying to do something that deep down inside you don't believe in, that's causing confusion. And there's an old saying, confused mind is a paralyzed mind. So you're not able to focus as well as you can if you have clear intentions, clear thoughts, clear outcomes in your mind, and clear morals or thoughts. So by getting all that clear, he was able to land this big deal. I've done that for, helping someone start and became number one. No, actually was number one in the state for his real estate company. Once again, getting those things clear of what the outcome and how he felt inside and make them come in alignment. So yes.
If you could implant one core belief into everyone's subconscious right now, what would it be and why?
I don't want to sound corny, but I would want to install brotherly love, sisterly love. I don't know what you want to call it. Love for other individuals. I think there's a lot of hatred going around and not knowing there's stuff that's happening that's very horrific around the world, even in the States, that individuals are being persecuted and hurt, killed because of people's beliefs in other countries. Even those beliefs in other countries don't really matter. If we work together, really, nothing will stop us. The problem is we all are thinking we're right, and we don't know. We just have that faith. But does it matter if they're not right? Does it matter if they're not 100% in line with you? I have friends that are deep friends, best friends. Do we see eye and eye to everything? No. But we have brotherly love for each other, sisterly love for each other. So if I could install one thing, it would be that, so we could stop this hatred and this waste of time and people's lives. And, brotherly love would do away with the hierarchy of who has and who has not, and let everybody be lifted up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For anyone inspired by this conversation, how can they connect with you and explore your work further?
Very simple. My web address is dochypnosis.com. dochypnosis.com. You can go there. I have my contact information's there. You can drop me an email there. You can give me a call. It'll go straight to my office or straight to my business cell phone. If I don't answer, I'll call you back. I can call worldwide. I'm here for you. I love talking to people, helping people get better. Also, if you want to know about a little bit more about my work, I have two books coming out. The first one is about anarchy hypnosis, and that's by William Deihl, PhD. It'll be up on my website. The other one is the Hypnosis Hustle, 52 no fluff ways of marketing your business. So I have became number one in Arizona relatively fast. And people are still wondering how I did it. So I decided to put out a book about that and been working on that. So if you have those, please look for my books or reach out to me and let's talk on Doc Hypnosis.
Thank you so much for joining the show.
Well, thank you so much. And I really enjoyed being on here with you.